My sister didn't just steal from our 90-year-old mother. She laughed at her. She laughed at me. The insult, the one that broke my heart and ignited the fire, was her smug expression as she called me a jealous failure. I knew a court case would drain Mom's remaining savings, so I decided to fight her, not in a courtroom, but with a technological trap. She still has no idea that the birthday gift I gave her, a simple fitness watch, was the most brutal, sophisticated surveillance system I have ever created. My name is David, 65, and I watched my older sister, the self-proclaimed family saint, move in and take over Mom's financial power of attorney. This arrangement quickly turned poisonous. Over the last 18 months, her calls became constant demands for more money. Mom had substantial savings, but my sister, dripping with the oil of martyrdom, insisted the funds were mysteriously gone, requiring huge, emergency contributions from me for specialized care. The numbers were wrong. While Mom's needs were real, the expenses she claimed were astronomical. The house was crumbling, yet my sister was driving a new luxury SUV and wearing designer clothes. She was funding a lavish, secret life with Mom's money while hiding behind her caregiver shield. If you're already feeling the cold burn of betrayal and know what it's like to fight a poisonous relative, hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you don't want to miss the detailed revenge plan that's about to unfold. We're just getting started. As a retired IT consultant, I specialized in systems auditing and pattern recognition. I saw the glaring anomalies in her receipts, multiple suppliers on the same day, checks filled out with obvious haste and carelessness. I realized fighting her with paper would be futile. She had too many excuses. I needed something simple, irrefutable, and entirely behavioral. I needed to prove not where the money went on paper, but where she was when the money was spent. I tried a gentle confrontation, asking about a missing $5,000 withdrawal for therapy equipment. Her facade shattered. The sweet caretaker vanished, replaced by an angry, entitled viper. She didn't explain the missing funds. Instead, she launched a furious personal attack. She leaned in, cold and calculating, and spat the words, "You're just a jealous failure, David. You couldn't hack it in the big leagues, and now you want to count my pennies while I do the actual hard work. Get a hobby and leave the adults alone." That insult was the trigger. It confirmed her contempt and her belief in her own untouchability. I stopped seeing her as family. She was a predator who dared me to prove her wrong. The conversation ended, but my decision was final. I would use my technical expertise against her deceit. My first step: find the perfect piece of technology to track her every move and, crucially, record the sound of her monumental hubris. The technological revenge game was definitively on. After our volatile confrontation, my sister, acting like a cornered animal, temporarily changed tactics. Instead of demanding money, she flooded my inbox with documents, hundreds of poorly scanned, blurry receipts and checks. These weren't intended to prove her innocence. They were a deliberate act of obfuscation, designed to overwhelm and confuse me, the jealous failure she assumed couldn't handle the administrative burden. She proudly claimed these documents justified the $25,000 withdrawn over the last 6 months for Mom's increased needs. But she forgot one thing. My retirement wasn't due to incompetence. It was due to a successful career spent precisely on untangling this kind of paper-thin corporate fraud. I sat down with her messy documentation, treating it like a high-stakes, real-world systems audit. I wasn't looking at the individual receipts. I was analyzing the pattern, the typography, and the narrative she was trying to construct. The inconsistencies were glaring. She had receipts for specialized dietary supplements from 3 different expensive suppliers on the same day. There were checks written for Home Care Services, Inc., with sequential numbers, but wildly different fonts and spacing, suggesting they were filled out quickly and carelessly. This wasn't professional theft. This was amateurish, opportunistic greed, layered with an overwhelming sense of self-entitlement. She genuinely believed her performance of martyrdom was so convincing that no one would bother to check the details. The deeper I dug into her fabricated financial universe, the clearer it became. Fighting this battle with paper would be futile. A lawyer would tie us up in discovery for years, arguing over whether a $500 check for physical therapy was legitimate or not. The financial paper trail was too convoluted and designed for plausible deniability. I needed something that transcended paperwork. I needed something simple, irrefutable, and entirely behavioral. I needed to prove not where the money went on paper, but where she was when the money was spent. She could fake a receipt for a pharmacy, but she couldn't fake her physical location. She claimed to be at Mom's bedside, but where was she really? My mind, accustomed to problem solving, immediately turned to location data and remote logging. The solution had to be small, easily integrated into her daily life, and something she would never, ever take off. It had to feel like a reward, not a surveillance device. A light bulb went off. Her 50th birthday was coming up, and she was obsessed with projecting an image of wellness and activity, fueled by the stress of her supposed caregiving. A high-end smartwatch, the perfect combination of a desirable gift and a discreet data collector. I knew, with my background, how to exploit the device's open architecture and built-in sensors. A quick modification, a clever exploit of a microphone activation feature, and a custom piece of remote logging software would turn a simple fitness tracker into a devastating legal weapon. I started researching models that weekend, my heart racing with the thrill of the chase. This was going to be my magnum opus of revenge. The search for the perfect spy began immediately. It had to be something my sister would crave and wear constantly. Given her recent obsession with looking active and stressed but healthy, the choice was obvious. A premium smartwatch, one of the newer models. The beauty of these devices, from an IT perspective, is their accessibility. They are loaded with sensors and run on open-source frameworks. It was the perfect blend of desirable tech and inherent vulnerability. I bought the watch online, ensuring the transaction was untraceable back to any of my accounts. A small but necessary step in operational security. Once it arrived, I didn't just set it up, I stripped it down. My retirement project became the most ethically questionable piece of custom software I'd ever written. The primary goal was silent, continuous GPS logging. This would map her physical whereabouts 24/7, cross-referencing her stated errands against her real destinations. The secondary feature was far more critical and far more complex. A short burst, voice-activated microphone function. I designed the script to only activate and record a brief 10-second fragment whenever the watch detected a sudden spike in ambient noise, or, more importantly, a specific high-pitch vocalization, like a laugh of self-satisfaction or a sharp, sudden comment. I needed her own voice to condemn her. I ensured the custom code was nested deep within a seemingly innocent health tracking module that was entirely invisible to the user interface. It would quietly package the location data and audio snippets and beam them out to a dedicated, encrypted cloud server, my digital surveillance HQ. This wasn't some piece of Hollywood espionage. It was simply exploiting poor code security with a custom application, a skill I'd honed over decades. The day of her 50th birthday arrived. I walked into Mom's house with the watch in a brightly wrapped box. The family gathered, and my sister, basking in the glow of attention, opened the gift. She gushed over the brand and the color, immediately slipping it onto her wrist. "Oh, David, you really shouldn't have," she cooed, a sickly sweet smile plastered on her face. Her eyes, however, were calculating, probably wondering how much I had drained my retirement fund to buy it. Her vanity was the key. She loved the image it projected. She saw a fitness accessory. I saw the leash I was about to tighten. That evening, I watched the first packets of data flicker onto my server. A constant stream of GPS coordinates confirming she was still at Mom's house. It was boring, but necessary. I knew the moment she stepped out for her next pharmacy run or doctor's appointment, the truth would be exposed. I had given her the ultimate tool for accountability, and she had no idea the data.
The clock was already ticking down to her own humiliation. The wait for the first real slip was excruciating. The initial days felt like watching a slow clock tick. My server was filling up with mundane data packets, coordinates placing the smartwatch squarely inside Mom's house, confirming my sister was in fact there. The waiting was agony, a psychological strain that made me question my own sanity. Was I just the jealous failure she claimed? Was I inventing this entire scenario? The silence from the surveillance system was deafening. Then, 3 days after her birthday, the first signal arrived. My sister called, sighing dramatically about the crushing burden of care. She told me she was about to embark on a difficult hours-long trip to a specialized physical therapy center 50 miles away, the one she claimed Mom desperately needed, but whose bills never materialized. I wished her luck and hung up, my heart pounding. Within 20 minutes, the GPS data started to update on my screen. The car was moving, yes, but not north toward the clinic. It was heading directly into the city's most exclusive commercial district. I watched the icon stop. The address resolved to a massive upscale complex known for its designer boutiques and high-end restaurants. The timestamp started ticking. 11:30 a.m. My sister, the dutiful, stressed caregiver, was not buying Mom's new wheelchair. She was shopping. I sat there, staring at the screen, and the pit in my stomach hardened into cold, scientific certainty. Suspicion was replaced by objective, documented fact. The watch stayed in that location for exactly 2 hours and 45 minutes. During that time, she must have been trying on clothes, laughing with sales assistants, and indulging in a high-priced lunch. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. When she called me back that afternoon, her voice was exhausted, laden with fake fatigue. The therapist appointment was grueling, David. I'm completely drained. Mom's needs are just endless. I managed a simple, I understand, but my voice was tight. I understood far more than she could ever imagine. The system was verified, the trap was set, and the prey had taken the bait, completely oblivious. The next step was waiting for the audio proof, the sound of her voice admitting her monumental deception. GPS proved where she was. The microphone would prove why she was there. The pressure built as I realized this first betrayal was just a minor expense. I needed a major one to truly prove my case. The small trips, the 2 hours at a luxury mall, the extended visit to an expensive cafe, were just the appetizers. They confirmed the GPS was flawless, but they didn't provide the financial smoking gun. I was waiting for the big money move, and it arrived 2 weeks later, disguised as an act of profound maternal love. My sister called, her voice tight with artificial panic. "David, we have a crisis. Mom needs a highly specialized, custom-built medical recliner, the kind that costs a fortune. It's $8,500, but the doctor says it's critical for her circulation. I've already signed the order, and I need you to wire your half immediately, or they'll cancel it." The urgency was deliberate, designed to bypass my careful scrutiny. I agreed instantly, playing the part of the compliant brother. "Send me the invoice," I told her, knowing she would immediately proceed with the purchase.
I wired the funds, but the lie felt like a physical blow. The money was gone, but the crucial question was, where was she when she ordered it, and where was the chair going? The GPS tracking didn't disappoint. Hours after the funds were transferred, her location icon moved not to a medical supply warehouse, but to the most exclusive, invite-only spa in the entire county, a place where treatments cost hundreds of dollars per hour. I watched her location stay anchored there from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. It was an insult. Mom was supposedly suffering, and my sister was soaking in a therapeutic mud bath paid for by the fabricated medical recliner. But then, the server pinged, displaying a notification I'd been waiting for. Audio fragment received. The microphone, triggered by what must have been loud laughter or excited chatter, had finally recorded something of substance. I isolated the 10-second clip and played it back through my headphones. It wasn't a confession, but it was far worse. I could hear my sister's distinct, grating laugh, followed by the muffled voice of a friend. Then, my sister's voice, loud and clear, layered with supreme arrogance. $8,000 for a chair? Please. My therapy chair is right here, and it cost me about 5 hours of bliss. That old failure David fell for it immediately. He thinks Mom is fine now. He's so predictable. I leaned back, eyes closed. The chill of that audio fragment, her casual cruelty and contempt, was absolute proof. It wasn't just theft, it was emotional performance art. She was gloating, secure in her belief that I was too weak and too stupid to ever challenge her. The audio provided the motive and the malicious intent, perfectly correlating with the GPS data of the high-end spa. I now had the geographical and the vocal evidence. The next step was to methodically map out her entire web of lies. With the dual evidence, irrefutable GPS tracking of her physical location and the chilling audio confirmation of her intent, I shifted from surveillance mode to analysis mode. The next phase wasn't about catching her in the act. It was about building a case that could not be dismantled. I spent the next 2 weeks simply observing, letting the custom app feed its data into my secure server. I wanted a pattern, not just an isolated incident. I developed a simple, elegant piece of software designed solely for visualization. It took the raw data packets and overlaid them onto a spreadsheet, creating a financial geographical map of my sister's activities. The columns were brutally efficient. Date and time, stated purpose, my sister's lie. GPS coordinates, actual location. Business name, confirmed. Audio snippet received, YN. And a column I labeled Financial Anomaly Detected. The patterns leaped out immediately. She had a ritual. Every Tuesday, after telling me she was taking Mom to a specialized support group, she would spend 3 hours in a district known exclusively for luxury home furnishings and fine art galleries. Every Thursday, an alleged trip to refill Mom's critical prescriptions translated into a prolonged stay at a high-end country club. The audio snippets, though short, were all captured in places of leisure and excess, never near a hospital, pharmacy, or a genuine care facility. They were short, sharp bursts of entitled laughter and casual mockery of the family. The most damning insight came from cross-referencing this map with the dates she demanded money from me. Every single time she initiated a request for a large sum, be it for physical therapy equipment or emergency medical supplies, her physical location within 24 to 48 hours would correlate with a major, non-essential luxury purchase location. The $8,500 medical chair lie, for example, lined up perfectly with her extended spa visit. The GPS data was the physical footprint of her financial crime. I now had 2 full months of data, systematically connecting her stated lies to her luxurious reality. This wasn't circumstantial. It was a clear, concise, and repeatable pattern of behavior. I printed the spreadsheet, a document of about 30 pages, and placed it in a secure binder. It was no longer a personal feud. It was a dossier. My sister was no longer just greedy. She was predictable. I had the what and the where. Now it was time to get the final, critical piece of evidence: the official banking records to confirm the cost. I had the location, the motive, and her own voice confirming the malice. But the court and my own sense of justice demanded the final, physical proof: the bank statements. My digital dossier was compelling, but paper records still held the ultimate authority in a financial fraud case. I had to merge the geographical evidence with the actual cash flow. My legal right to these documents was clear. As Mom's son, and with her health declining, I could request a full accounting of her assets and transactions. I chose a Monday morning, a time when the bank manager would be relatively fresh and professional. I dressed in my best retired consultant attire and walked into the downtown branch where Mom held her primary accounts. I approached the manager, a middle-aged woman named Sarah, who seemed efficient and weary. I didn't mention my sister or the smartwatch. Instead, I presented a carefully crafted narrative about Mom's rapidly deteriorating memory and my growing concern over her inability to monitor her own finances. "I just need a 6-month statement, madam," I said calmly. "I need to ensure her care expenses are being handled responsibly before I consider stepping in legally." My tone was respectful and concerned, the voice of a worried son, not a man plotting revenge. Sarah was initially hesitant, citing privacy laws. But my documentation, a recent, legitimate doctor's letter confirming Mom's cognitive decline, combined with my own identity verification, was airtight. She agreed to process the full itemized transaction report. The waiting time was agonizing. For 2 days I lived in fear that my sister would somehow catch wind of my visit and intervene, perhaps draining the accounts completely. When I received the thick packet of printouts, I rushed home and spread them across my office desk. The final phase of the audit began: cross-referencing. I took the dates and locations from my GPS map and matched them against the bank statement's transaction records. The correlation was instantaneous and devastating. The date my sister spent 3 hours at the luxury mall, Part 4, was matched by a $900 withdrawal from Mom's debit card at an unlabeled ATM just across the street. The afternoon she spent at the high-end spa, Part 5, bragging about her therapy chair lie, coincided precisely with a $4,500 check being cashed and another $3,000 purchase at a boutique clothing store, identified by the merchant code. The ritualistic Tuesday trips to the art galleries? They were paired with hefty consultation fees paid out to a P.O. box number my sister controlled. Every single lie, every single location, now had a devastating dollar amount attached to it. The GPS was the location of the bullet hitting the target. The bank statement was the sound of the gun. The case was no longer just strong, it was impermeable. I had documented proof of theft, intent, and location. It was time to shift from investigator to executor. My next call would be to a lawyer. With the bank statements and my meticulously organized dossier in hand, I felt the cold, hard confidence of a man who had not just found the truth, but built an impenetrable fortress around it. The time for surveillance and documentation was over. The time for legal action and calculated revenge had arrived. My next step was to find a lawyer who specialized not just in probate or elder law, but in financial fraud involving family members. A tough, seasoned professional who wouldn't shrink from the ugliness of the situation. I secured a meeting with Ms. Eleanor Vance, a formidable attorney known for her blunt efficiency. I laid out the binder on her desk. The GPS logs, the bank statements, the list of my sister's lies, and the transcribed, chilling audio fragments. Miss Vance flipped through the evidence, her expression remaining perfectly neutral, which, in her world, was a sign of serious engagement. She pointed to the cross-referenced spreadsheet. "You didn't just suspect fraud, David. You documented a pattern of racketeering. The GPS tracking, while unconventional, clearly disproves her stated purpose for every withdrawal."
She can't claim she was buying mom medicine when she was demonstrably at a high-end liquor store or spa at the exact moment the money left the account. She confirmed my legal strategy. We would not immediately go to the police. The goal was twofold: securing mom's remaining assets immediately and removing my sister's power of attorney without draining the estate on a lengthy criminal trial. The threat of a criminal investigation, backed by this evidence, would be her leverage. The plan was simple, brutal, and designed for maximum psychological impact. We would schedule a formal family meeting, inviting my sister to discuss mom's financial future. Crucially, Ms. Vance would be present, posing initially as a notary or an independent financial consultant. My sister, arrogant in her belief that I was powerless, would undoubtedly show up, ready to perform her weary martyr routine one last time. Ms. Vance prepared the documents: an immediate petition for temporary guardianship of mom's finances and a demand letter for full restitution. I made one specific, non-negotiable request. The meeting needed to be recorded legally in its entirety. I wanted a video record of her lies dissolving into panic. The lawyer smiled, a genuine, sharp smile. "David, you've done all the hard work. All we have to do now is present the case. The smartwatch was genius. Let's set the stage for the final act." I left her office feeling lighter, realizing I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting to restore my mother's dignity and my own self-respect against the jealous failure accusation. The countdown to the ultimate confrontation had begun. The confrontation was set for 3 o'clock on a gray Tuesday afternoon in Mom's living room. My sister arrived in full battle armor, tailored clothes, a perfectly distressed expression, and the ubiquitous smartwatch gleaming on her wrist. Ms. Vance, the attorney, was already there, positioned next to a projector and screen, introduced simply as a family accountant helping with Mom's complex financial planning. My sister eyed her suspiciously but settled back, confident that my evidence was nothing but vague suspicion. I let her speak first. She launched into a tearful, aggressive monologue about her tireless sacrifice, listing every perceived slight and demanding recognition for her unpaid labor. She ended her performance with a familiar, condescending flourish. "I've been completely transparent, David. You, on the other hand, just sit on the sidelines and criticize." "Transparency is exactly what we're here to discuss," I said, my voice unnervingly calm. I took the remote from Ms. Vance and clicked the projector on. The screen didn't show blurry receipts. It showed my simple, devastating table, the map of greed. The first column read date. The second, my sister's stated purpose, pharmacy run. The third, GPS location, confirmed. The French Country Club, golf course. The fourth, corresponding.
Transaction, $1,200, annual membership fee. Her smile faltered. "That's circumstantial. The watch is faulty. I loaned it to a friend," she stammered, her voice rising in panic. I clicked to the next slide. It showed the date of the medical recliner crisis. Stated purpose, $8,500 critical medical equipment. GPS location, A-list spa and wellness retreat. Corresponding transaction,
$8,500 check cashed. "Who was wearing the watch then, sister?" I asked softly, pushing the panic. "The friend you lent it to?" "Because I have a message from that friend." I hit the audio button. The small speaker filled the silent room with her distinct, high-pitched, self-satisfied cackle. Then, her voice, loud, clear, and dripping with contempt, recorded by the very device she still wore. $8,000 for a chair? Please, my therapy chair is right here, and it cost me about 5 hours of bliss. That old failure David fell for it immediately. He thinks Mom is fine now. He's so predictable. The sound cut off. The silence was absolute. My sister's face drained of color, going from outrage to horror in a split second. She looked down at the smartwatch on her wrist, as if it were a poisonous snake. Ms. Vance, the professional, stepped forward as my sister dissolved. Her voice was pure steel. "The evidence is clear, madam. Financial documents corroborated by geolocation and audio confirmation of criminal intent. You are hereby served with a petition for immediate removal of financial power of attorney and a demand for full restitution of $62,000, or a criminal complaint will be filed immediately." My sister screamed, a raw, inhuman sound of total defeat, tearing the smartwatch off her wrist and throwing it against the wall. The climax wasn't a fight. It was a total, absolute mental collapse under the weight of her own documented greed. She was done. My sister's collapse in Mom's living room was the end of her reign. Faced with the undeniable evidence, her own voice, her own GPS coordinates, and the bank statements, she had nowhere to run. Ms. Vance, my formidable lawyer, was clear. Either sign the papers for full restitution and relinquish the power of attorney immediately, or we file a criminal complaint for elder fraud and theft. There was no gray area left. She chose compliance. Defeated, shamed, and stripped of her martyrdom, she signed everything. The threat of prison and the public humiliation that would follow was enough to break her arrogance. Her golden ticket was immediately voided. The legal process was swift. I became the sole financial guardian, and Ms. Vance initiated the legal demand for the sale of my sister's stake in Mom's house to cover the $62,000 she had stolen. The money would return to Mom's trust, where it belonged. The days following her departure were silent, which felt like a massive collective sigh of relief. The toxic cloud of her presence lifted from the house. Mom, though still declining, was visibly more peaceful, free. From the subtle stress my sister inflicted, I didn't move in, but I established a fully audited, transparent system of care, hiring professional caregivers whose hours and expenses were strictly monitored. For the first time in years, I could visit Mom without the pressure of financial manipulation or my sister's judgmental eyes. I am no longer the jealous failure. I won the battle of wits and technology, not out of malice, but out of necessity and fierce protection of my mother's dignity. My life, once defined by the frustration of powerlessness, is now defined by peace and purpose. At 65, I used my IT skills to achieve the greatest justice of my life. I restored my mother's security, and in doing so, restored my own self-respect. So, that's my true story, how a simple smartwatch became the perfect surveillance tool to expose a predator in the family. Now, I have to ask you, considering the level of deceit and cruelty, did I do the right thing by giving my sister a chance at restitution instead of sending her straight to jail? What would you have done in my place? If this calculated, technological revenge kept you on the edge of your seat, please hit the like button below. Share this incredible story with your friends, and make sure you're subscribed
so you don't miss the next true tale of betrayal and unbelievable payback. Thank you for listening.